realize that you have families that are out there that are hurting that it relates to veterans. And so it's been one of those things that we want to stay focused on, and we want to be able to get the resources to be a part of. I'm looking also, education is one of the biggest things that are important to me as well. We don't have a public school system that really works for everyone. You have individuals now that are coming through our public school system that are not being prepared. And one of the things that I'm hoping that as the next United States Senator, that we invest in early childhood education. That was one of the things. I want every child that when they start kindergarten that they're ready to go. But in order to do that, you have to have a government that really believes that. And what you have are young moms who aren't able to afford childcare, so they stay home with their kids, and so their kids aren't getting what they need in order for them to start school properly. And those are some of the things that is very, very critical as you talk about moving a nation forward. But one of the things that I've realized as I've moved across North Carolina is that we have two different economies. We have an urban economy and we have a rural economy. And we have leaders who are not doing their best to make sure that there's a strategy for each one of those economies. There's not going to be a big city everywhere in North Carolina. There are going to be some individuals that are going to live in the rural parts of our state, but they want to be able to take care of their families. And it's important that we have individuals that understand that there's a strategy that comes along with that. And so my hope is that we will continue, that we will be able to bring leaders together in various regions to be able to have those discussions. How do we strategically build our specific part of the state based off of our current strategy? I'm looking forward to what I'm excited about is that during this campaign there has just been an outpouring of support from folks just everywhere. And they're excited because they recognize that they are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They believe that Richard Burr is in Washington, D.C., not representing all people. And you want to be able to send an individual that represents all people. But how do you do that? When do you do that? The time is now. I'm running for the United States Senate because at some point we need to send someone who actually represents everyday people. Someone who can take the hopes and the dreams of what people are dealing with every single day and be able to deliver that to Washington, D.C. As I said a couple of weeks ago to some folks, if you've never fried bologna, you don't know what the people are handling, what they're dealing with on the ground out there. And that's just something very simple. But there's a different economy that's out there right now. And people have developed their own economy because they can't survive in this current economy. And if you're an elected official and you don't understand that, then you don't need to be elected. And that's why I want to run for the seat. And when I decided to run, you had a lot of individuals that said this is a big race. It can't be done. Why would you do something? Why would you go from being the mayor of a small town to running for the United States Senate? And I had to remind them that, first of all, there's a lot of mayors of small towns in North Carolina. There's only like 4 big cities and a lot of small town mayors. And the last time I checked, the pothole in Spring Lake is the same as the pothole in Raleigh, North Carolina. They still got to get filled no matter what. And so it's important that folks recognize that I have the background to be a U.S. Senator. Not only have I spent 16 years in the military, I've worked on Capitol Hill for Congressman John Lewis. I've worked for the Department of Defense writing cybersecurity policy for the nation. I now run a healthcare organization that coordinates healthcare for the uninsured population. And so no matter whether it's growing a business, as the mayor of my city, I came back and turned a city that was under siege with police scandal, had not grown in over a decade as it relates to our economy, and we had a crumbling infrastructure. And in that time frame, we was able to, in the last 4 years, we've turned that city around. And we've been able to do it because we had a vision and because of leadership. And North Carolina now needs someone who has the ability to do that. So the 3 things why I believe that I am more qualified than my opponents in running for the United States Senate is, number 1, I have domestic policy experience. Being the mayor of a city, I have the opportunity to not only grow and build a city, but I've worked with my colleagues at the state level, but I've also worked at the federal government. But I also have foreign policy experience. A few months ago, I just came back from working with governments over in Central America, Honduras, Panama, Colombia, Cuba, sitting down with those individuals and looking at how do we help build your economy. and building those types of relationships. But also being an individual who served in the military, I'm a member of the Truman National Security Project, which is an organization that works with foreign policy leaders to develop progressive policies that impacts the world. And so you have an individual that has that. And lastly, I believe that the energy from our campaign has the ability to make sure that the entire Democratic ticket wins in November. And so when we think about as Democrats, how do we really win in November? First of all, by putting a ticket in front of the people in North Carolina that looks like North Carolina. That's the first thing. But also asking ourselves, who has the ability to drive the vote out? You know, will the person at the top of the ticket as president be able to do that? Will our gubernatorial candidate be able to do that? And as you go down the list of individuals that are running for office, who has the energy to reach an array of people? And I believe that my candidacy does. And we have the ability to go into places that I know that a lot of the other candidates won't be able to go into. That's going to be the key for us as Democrats. That's how we're going to win in November. And that's why I need your vote. And so I'm asking each and every one of you, if you haven't decided yet on who you're going to vote for, please strongly consider Chris Wray. I'd love to have your vote, earn your vote on the 15th, if you have not voted early. But also, please tell somebody. Go to my website at chrisray.com, and that's Ray, R-E-Y. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all those other social media outlets, and be able to be a part of this new movement of Democrats that are coming through the pipeline and being able to represent all of North Carolina. And with that being said, I would love to take any questions that you guys have, but thank you so much for the opportunity.
Would you repeat, I know you were talking a little bit about how you're able to reach the younger individuals that vote.
Sure,
Can
sure.
you just say something real quick about
Well, you know,
that?
I think one of the things that folks recognize in politics, when you look at the candidate, and as you're thinking strategically, you want to be able to say, if this individual is running and we have a slate of candidates that are running, how is this person going to be able to reach all the various demographics? And, you know, you have young people who, you have some young people in some of the colleges that they're into politics, so, you know, they get it. But there's another generation of folks that are in college that they're not going to move unless you have the ability to move them. And so that means that they're going to have to look at your website, they're going to have to look at your social media, they're going to have to be able to hear from you. And if they go to your stuff and it's just plain old blah, then they're going to be like, I'm not going to get behind this person because they don't speak to me. And I know that it's hard because some folks, you know, depending on what your age is, you may not be able to get down to that level. But when we're talking about the entire Democratic ticket, you're talking about someone who has the ability to reach a generation of people. So if you have the same homogenous group of people running, then you're getting ready to hurt yourself and you're getting ready to leave a segment of people out. And so I think that we'll have an ability to, I'm not that far removed, you know, from college to where I can't talk about college affordability. You know, I'm not that far removed that I can't talk about the job market when folks are getting ready to step out there. So when you talk about an economy that's trying to work for everybody, what's going to be in it for them and how are they going to be able to be a part of it? But then you have the demographics that I'm in right now where I'm married, I have a young family, you know, we're trying to buy houses, we're trying to get into that piece. How do you speak to that segment of the population? Because they get it. And they're just like, how are we going to be able to make sure that my student loans that I'm still paying back, you know, so that's a whole nother generation of folks that we can speak to. And so I believe that, and then on top of that, when we talk about our older generation of folks, hopefully they will look at me and say, you know what, this individual has the experience to run. He has the ability to take on a Richard Burr, who's in a position, you know, clearly of influence, but at the same time, he can be beat. And so how do you do that? And I believe that, you know, we bring that to the table. And so I feel like I can speak to all the various sectors of folks.
That's interesting. Because and social media itself, just that pocket. I've looked at your media, social media, and other folks' social media, and you're right about that. You can tell a complete difference and who would be interested in which. And that's extreme. It's up here for people 30 and below
That's right.
in particular, but even nowadays, your 40s are into it.
Well, not only that, but I will tell you through my, through my current interaction, look, there are folks, look, I got folks that, some of the most active folks on my page are folks in their sixties that have who've gotten on social media, who's doing their thing. And so it really, the social media piece really spans a lot of, it really, really does. I think what's the difference between my page and others is the energy that comes out of it when you go to it. Yes, we talk about policies. Yes, we talk about the things that we would do if elected. But at the same time, people want to know, how do I, even though I can't touch him, based off of my interaction that I'm seeing through the screen, is he someone that I can at least trust? Does he remind me of somebody in my family? Is this someone that, speaks to me? And that's what you have to be able to create, and everyone doesn't have that ability. And I think that we have done a good job of that. And I think that that's why we've had the kind of reaction. We did a posting about a week or so ago that dealt with education, and it talked about why public education investment is important. And I talked about that I was a kid that had free and reduced lunch. I had after school programs. I had amazing teachers, and so I represent what good public education investment looks like. So when you have people out here in the communities or certain parties saying, "Well, you're investing in, this, you're throwing money away at these
Right.
programs," but free and reduced lunch got me through.
Right.
After school programs got me through, and so, but this is the investment that you got. And now here I am running for public office. Here I am coming back and using the intellectual capital that I have to improve my community. That makes a difference. And that Facebook posting that we did reached 27,000 people.
Well, that was good.
So it's and so that's the difference. And that's what makes all the difference.
Well, I hate we couldn't get the crowd that we